Hi, it's that I bring major shame to all my language arts teachers, Kaizen here, and currently it feels like America's overreacting with the word DEI, and this overreaction is hurting more Americans than actually helping them. For example, the Boeing, which has been under fire for a while too. A lot of people blame Boeing's failures on DEI programs, but no one is talking about how safety laws are being deregulated so these billion-dollar companies can save some money at the expense of people's well-being while in the sky. Oh, there's also the fact that Boeing has been on a decline ever since they had a merger that saw greedy corporate tactics take over the American engineering pride and philosophy that the company originally had. A merger that happened way before DEI programs were ever a thing. So maybe we should be looking at those aspects when it comes to looking at ways to improve Boeing's quality, so that other industries don't make similar mistakes. Wendover Productions did a great job detailing the decline of Boeing. But let's get back on track with the nonsense and harm that these toxic talking points have done. Like how there are teachers who aren't allowed to put up signs that says everyone is welcome in classrooms because it's quote unquote too woke. There's also programs that are being cut that actually saves people's lives, like the Abundant Birth Project. This is a initiative that gives Pacific Islanders and Black women resources to combat the whole childbirth mortality rates in their communities. And guess what? It was working for a good bit of time and it was about to be extended throughout all of California, but a group of people came out the woodworks and said that no, this is a DEI program that's quote unquote racist, despite it actually helping Black and Pacific Islanders who have a history of childbirth deaths, mainly because of economics positions, as well as the fact that doctors have a history of not providing the utmost care to these groups of individuals when they say that they're in pain. And yes, I heard the arguments against this already. I feel like people need to realize that Black and Pacific Islanders also pay taxes. They were a part of America's history in the past, present, and most likely in the future too. I'm totally fine with expanding this idea to every mother in America that needs it. And I do like this idea of just giving people $5,000 to $6,000 tax credit for each kid, but this is less than the amount of money that people were getting originally in California with this program. And it's one of those things where I gotta see it to believe it, because politicians will always say, hey, we're gonna do this, but they never really do, despite the fact that they do have power in the executive and in the House. So only time will tell. I hope it gets passed and that they do more. All this rhetoric and action doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless you start looking at it from a rich person's perspective, like stupid rich. I'm talking about people who can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a day and still have hundreds of thousands of dollars in their bank accounts, millions in assets, and billions to spend afterwards. Because at the end of the day, this rhetoric is just keeping poor people poorer and the rich richer. Less taxpayers' money for the Abundant Birth Project means more taxpayers' money for billion-dollar companies to receive from the government. Having people focus on Boeing's DEI programs means no one is talking about the safety laws that are being deregulated, so these billion-dollar companies can cut costs. This is very similar to like what slave owners did to poor white people in the past. And the slave owners basically said, yeah, your life sucks, but it will suck more if Black people were freed. Instead of providing these individuals with legit comfortable wages, the wealthy provided them with an imaginary enemy to keep them busy. Multiple enemies throughout the years, actually. These oligarchs will continue to pay for ads that enforce stereotypes in newspapers that demonize Black people, Hispanics, and anyone who was not considered white at the time, just to keep those groups bickering among themselves while the wealthier got more wealthy. The same is happening in current day white America, and I don't even feel like I should use the word white America because it's so broad of a term. Like Bob here, who grew up in the suburbs, has more in common with other Asian, Black, and Hispanic kids who grew up in the suburbs, especially the ones who are several generations removed from poverty, than he does with Barron Trump. Even though that they're both white, regardless, it's rich people who are benefiting from all this division. Back in the day, one salary can support a whole household. That changed around the Reagan administration, where income was not matching the nation's increased GDP. Reagan was a B-list celebrity that tricked the average American person into liking the idea of tax cuts for the rich and less benefits for everyone else. Sounds kind of familiar? Yeah, it's like they're doing the same thing again. But hey, congratulations, Matt. You have a job that pays you $60,000 a year, and your groceries cost more now. You can't support a family of 3 comfortably on this income alone in most cities and suburbs nearby, like how your grandfather and your great-grandfather used to. You're still losing in life like those poor white people did when slavery was a thing. But hey, at least those DEI programs that kept Pacific Islanders and black women from dying during childbirth are no longer a thing. It's almost as if everyone is still losing except for the ones who are already at the top. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna keep it a buck. There are probably some DEI programs and initiatives that are bad for Americans or considered just wasteful spending, but I don't think you should get rid of them all. It's one of the reasons why I don't like listening to politicians or the news about this kind of stuff, because they make it seem like it's a black and white issue when there's a lot of gray in there. Nuance is desperately needed. Basically what I'm getting at here, it's a pretty bad idea to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Just like how it's a bad idea to tell teachers to take down posters saying that everyone is welcome.
Sarah said she was visited by her school principal and then West Ada School District personnel who told her to take them down because they go against district policy of displaying personal opinions.
I was told a couple things, that everyone is welcome here is not something that everybody believes. So that's what makes it a personal opinion.
You were told this, that not everybody believes everyone is welcome.
Right.
Okay. And who told you this? Who was the one saying that not everyone believes this?
My building administration and district personnel.
So Sarah told us she took him down that day, but after a few days later, she was feeling a little unsettled by it. So she put the poster back up, believing not only that everyone is welcome here is not a personal opinion, but the foundation of public education. And taking it down would only validate racist and bigoted views. Still, West Ada School District has given her till the end of this year to remove it. Yet the only thing we have heard from the West Ada School District is a reiteration of their policy, without an explanation of how everyone is welcome here is just personal opinion.
Another thing that doesn't make a lot of sense with these DEI discussions is that they try to make it a racial thing when in fact white women benefit the most from them, at least based on the majority of articles I've read. And I'm not trying to demonize our Cleopatra Karens out there, I'm just saying it from my point of view why all this discussion doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I first heard the word DEI when someone was referring to the mayor of Baltimore being a DEI hire, which doesn't make any sense. They were basically just blaming him for the whole bridge incident of a ship crashing into it.
A Republican congressional candidate in Florida tweeted that DEI did this. And a right-wing blue check account that's been boosted by Elon Musk in the past just blew straight past the dog whistling, tweeting to its 276,000 followers, quote, Baltimore's DEI mayor.
The DEI mayor, like he was given the job for being black. Then they said the shipping company was too focused on DEI instead of safety. But almost the entire leadership of the company is white. No black people.
And there's a lot to unpack here. For one, why are you calling someone who was democratically elected a DEI hire? 2, Baltimore is predominantly a black city. It kind of makes sense for a black city to have a black mayor. And 3, how do you expect the mayor of Baltimore to be responsible for this? Did you want him to use taxpayers' money so he can build an Iron Man suit and just patrol the city at night? Like, it's just ridiculous. Another thing that doesn't really make sense to me is how all this DEI rhetoric is affecting the military too. Our current government is trying to erase other minorities from American history.
The Jackie Robinson article was removed. Guess what also was removed? The 442nd from World War II. The Japanese Americans. That got removed.
And if it wasn't for the outcry from people, these individuals probably would have stayed off the website and not reinstated.
Guys, in Major League Baseball, Jackie Robinson was the definition of a DEI hire, and that's why we need it. Was he awesome? Yes. Was he deserving? Yes. Was he blocked because of his race? Yes. The reason DEI policies came to exist was not to elevate undeserving people. It was to make sure deserving people of all colors, creeds, genders, ethnicities had a shot.
Department of Defense, amidst an ongoing effort to purge government mentions of diversity, equity, inclusion, removed the website honoring Jackie Robinson's military service. It has since been restored, and their spokesperson, the Pentagon press secretary, said this: we do not view or highlight people such as Robinson through the prism of immutable characteristics such as race, amongst other things. So, look, Jackie Robinson was known for many things, but above all, first and foremost, it was his ongoing courage in the face of racial discrimination. In fact, in addition to crossing the color barrier in baseball, he served in a segregated unit in the Army, and in one instance refused to move to the back of the bus, was arrested and acquitted. That matters. That history cannot be erased, it cannot be undone, and it must be recognized to fully understand and celebrate his legacy.
Thanks, Mina.
This lady was dragged on the internet for pointing out this, which I feel like is just really odd to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those comments were just bots, seeing how the internet is filled with them nowadays. I personally always thought DEI programs and initiatives were there to protect minorities, you know? This might be a little bit controversial, but I don't think the majority of America is racist. But I do think there are bad actors in America, and what's really scary is what happens when these bad actors get into very powerful positions like hiring managers or just CEOs of companies. Kind of like how Elon Musk had an employee who resigned because people found his problematic tweets. One of which read, "Let's normalize hate against Indians." And when I read that, I was just thinking, damn, what if he was in a position of power? But then again, it hit me. He was in a very strong position of power going through people's social security information. And my question is, now that a lot of these DEI programs are being cut and erased, what is there to protect minorities? Why am I reading articles about how segregation clauses that protected minorities are being erased? Why does it feel like we're going backwards in this country? And honestly, I don't even think DEI programs matter that much when it comes to high-paying jobs. A lot of my friends who are black and are mechanical engineers or coders usually tell me that they're the only black person in that office, or it's really rare for them to find another black person. I have some family friends who are in Georgia, Atlanta, a predominantly black city, and they say the exact same thing. Like, the people who are coders and work in IT will mainly say that, yeah, it's mainly white people, then you will see a lot of Indians, and then everyone else is like, it's rare. So I don't even think DEI is that big of a deal when it comes to, like, quote unquote taking people's jobs, because it doesn't really feel like it's changed the status quo all that much. But I feel like it's a better idea for the American people to stop asking about what is DEI doing to this country, but instead they should be asking the question, why is the average salary not enough for a family to live comfortably on? And in gaming, it makes even less sense to me. There's this guy who I always watch every now and then just so I'm not always in an echo chamber, and mainly because I like to hear other people's POV so I can get like a good idea as to why people feel certain types of ways. There's this channel that blames all of Halo's failures on either women, black people, or the gays for why Halo is underperforming. This individual rarely ever points out the fact that Halo is in a very competitive market, the first-person shooter. I've mentioned this in other videos that first-person shooters are extremely competitive. We need more third-person shooters anyways. He rarely ever talks about how Halo refuses to adopt popular gaming trends, or the fact that Halo is exclusively on Xbox when it comes to consoles. He makes it seem like if we get rid of women, black people, and the gays, magically it will be so much more better, when I just hard disagree. Mainly because we've had a Halo made by mainly white people, and it was Splitgate. And I say this because when Splitgate was booming, I only saw like 3 white guys. Obviously, it took more than 3 white guys to make Splitgate, but that's all I saw. And it crashed and burned harder than Halo. They're coming out with Splitgate 2. It has a lot of red flags. And Splitgate 2 is probably going to have a similar fate as Halo. I'd be very surprised if it's popular a year after its release. But at the end of the day, I hope I'm wrong, because I don't enjoy seeing games die. But the same issues that Halo face is going to be the same issues that Splitgate face. It's in a very competitive market, the first-person shooter, and I don't think it's adopting popular gaming trends that the average consumer actually wants to play. Like, hey, I get it. Counter-Strike and Valorant made the whole attack and defend thing seem like a very popular game mode. I don't think the average casual really enjoys these attack and defend game modes as much as people think they do. But gaming in general is a very competitive industry to succeed at. And it's always kind of funny how they're quick to point out DEI when a gaming title or a piece of media is failing, but they never point it out when it succeeds. Like, X-Men is extremely quote-unquote woke and DEI nonsense, but it's a good show, like, and a lot of people would agree. The same thing with other games like Baldur's Gate. Also, there's It Takes Two, which has won multiple gaming awards and a lot of people say that they like. And guess what? It was co-written by a woman and a man. It's almost as if two different categories of people can come together and make amazing things. Overall, I still believe that this whole rhetoric around DEI and America's fascination with race is just a way to keep the rich richer and the poor poorer, as well as be a distraction to the legitimate causes of failed institutions and actions. If you disagree with me, let me know down below why. But till then, stay safe, be a KDA warrior, and I'll see you guys later.